at a later time. But like I said, I'm excited to join you guys today. My name's Jackie, and I work here at North Kansas City Hospital, mainly in our bariatric surgery department, but also as an outpatient dietitian, doing stuff with diabetes and weight loss. Since you can't really see me today, to put a kind of a face with the voice, this is a picture of my sweet family. My husband, Kurt, I have a 2-year-old daughter named Hannah, and then little Lukey is my 4-year-old boy. I'm a Mizzou fan. I did my internship at Mizzou and came here to Kansas City to do my master's at KU Med Center. I've been employed at North Kansas City Hospital for almost 10 years now and just truly love it. I love doing presentations and getting to present to different groups. So when I say I'm excited to be here with you guys, I truly mean that. And as you saw from the title of today's presentation, we're going to be talking a little bit about the mind and the body and how what we eat can really serve as fuel for that. I want to touch on fatigue a little bit and just how what we can eat really has a huge impact on how we're feeling throughout the day, how our energy level is, and how we can keep our brains functioning and healthy throughout the lifespan. So if you were to look up the definition of fatigue, fatigue is weariness or exhaustion from labor, exertion, or stress. It's that lack of mental alertness, having weakened muscles and sleepiness. Those are all parts of perceived fatigue. And I'm sure if I was with you in person and did a show of hands of who experiences this, I would see every hand up. It is kind of the norm in our society right now. We are busy, we're hectic, we're on the go, and we're tired, we're worn out. And it's honestly something that goes unaddressed for most of us for months and for years. And really can start to take a toll on our overall health and our mental cognition and mental function. I always think to my patients with newborn infants at home and up all night and disturbed sleep patterns, my patients working night shift and third shift, sleep is really interrupted, and it can make kind of a whole array of health problems later on. Our lifestyle factors play a big role into this as well. We are busy, we're hectic, we're on the go. Soccer practice, dance practice, work conferences, parent-teacher conferences. We always have things on the calendar and on the agenda, and it kind of creates a snowball type effect that we're busy and on the go. We start to have poor eating habits because we're grabbing for that quick, easy stuff on the go. We're looking for those quick energy sources. Because we're so stressed out and on the go, physical activity typically isn't the top of that priority list. And our activity level starts to dwindle, which then in turn makes us more tired. Just our stress level of all of our needs and all of our demands that are asked of us these days. And then also, use of medications, alcohol, drugs. I think Benadryl and kind of that mental fog that we have the mornings after we take Benadryl. Health conditions are also going to impact it. And I won't read through all of those, but things like diabetes and anemia can feel really fatigued from that. Multiple sclerosis and other autoimmune diseases are going to impact it. So what I want to focus on today, guys, is what we can do from a nutritional standpoint on improving our fatigue and improving our brain cognition throughout the lifespan. And the first kind of steps with that is knowing that less is not more. So just as our cars need fuel to go, so do our bodies. So I can't tell you how many times people come in and they say, I just don't understand it. I'm tired all the time. I'm not losing any weight, and I'm only eating 1 meal a day. Like, how is this happening? So when it boils down to it, skimping on calories is not the way to go. What it's going to do is decrease our metabolic rate because our bodies are smart and we're efficient, and we're going to try to conserve that energy. So what happens? Metabolism slows, we burn fewer calories. That's going to increase our risk of weight gain, which is ultimately going to equal fatigue. It becomes this kind of vicious cycle that we just can't seem to get out of. So getting that mindset, skimping's not the way to go. Really aiming for the 3 meals a day, and then depending upon how your schedule is and what times you eat, putting some snacks in there. So I like my patients to not go any longer than 3 to 4 hours, unless of course you're sleeping, without having a meal or a snack. Now, On the opposite, and this is going to confuse you, we also want to avoid eating too many calories. So I want you to kind of think that Thanksgiving full, uncomfortable, I don't feel good, I'm stuffed. It takes a lot of energy from our bodies to digest large amounts of food. And I don't want to get too technical with you, but what happens when we have that large influx of food is we have insulin overproduction. Think of insulin like little keys. It goes around in your body and it tells your body to take up that sugar, take up that carbohydrate. So what that's going to do, it's going to take it all up at once, and then it's going to, we kind of have limited available source for energy later, which makes us feel lethargic. So that chronic overeating, you guys can see that cycle over here. We actually get fatigued from it. And then that can cause weight gain. Weight gain in itself causes fatigue, which then overeating, it's a vicious cycle. So that leaves you saying, well, what the heck? You're telling me not to eat too much, but you're also telling me not to eat too little. So what am I supposed to do? So the first steps are starting to pay attention to your body. And I'm not going to get super into the mindful eating approach. I could do a whole presentation on this and how important it is, but I just kind of want to briefly touch on it today and the importance. And I want to get into more of what to be eating, not the how side of things. So step one, as we're trying to regulate that just right amount. So think the 3 bears, too hot, too cold, just right. I don't want you skimping on calories and not eating enough, but on the opposite, I don't want you eating way too many calories and getting into that cycle. We want to find that just right amount. And part of that is the mindful eating process. It's starting to get in tune with your body and paying attention to, okay, is this actually physical hunger or is this more of that emotional hunger? So think of emotional hunger. We're eating because we're happy, we're sad, we're mad, we're glad. The food tastes good and it looks good, it sounds good, it smells good. Sally brought it into the office, so I'm going to eat it. That's that emotional side of hunger that most of us can relate to. Physical hunger, that's more when it has been that 3 to 4 hours between meals. Kind of have that feeling of emptiness or achiness in the tummy, a little bit lack of energy. Some people even get to the point of kind of that almost shaky, dizzy type feeling, that those are physical signs that your body needs fuel. It needs that energy to function. So really getting in tune with yourself, mindfully eating, emotional versus physical hunger, and then also paying attention, what's full versus what is too full. So on that side of things, if you've seen this hunger fullness scale, what we want to try to do is avoid being on that Thanksgiving full, I don't feel good, I am too stuffed, I need a nap, because remember, that's what's going to end up causing that level of fatigue, that you have energy right then, but then too much insulin, we don't have energy for later. So again, it leaves you, okay, well, lady, you're telling me not to eat too much. You're telling me not to eat too little, pay attention to my body, but what food am I actually supposed to eat? And guys, the exciting thing, one of the best meal plans or style of eating that's been around for the past several years, but one of the most top rated diets or meal plans is a Mediterranean style eating. So what is that? So this is a meal plan that is very high in those more plant-based foods, high in fruits and vegetables, whole grains like quinoa and couscous and farro, lots of beans and lots of good healthy fat. This style of eating has been shown to not only protect the heart and to improve blood sugar and blood pressure, but also it has tons of anti-inflammatory properties. So that means it's reducing that swelling and that redness in the body. It's neuroprotective. So it's protecting those neurons and the neurotransmitters in your brain so you can fire messages throughout the brain easier. And it's rich in antioxidants, which we all want. The other thing I love about this style of eating is it's not cutting out a certain food group. It's not me telling you do not eat this, do not have that. It's not this list of no-nos. It's just a style of eating and how often we eat certain things. So when I talk about the Mediterranean diet, I divide it into what I call the Great 8. Okay, so what we're going to do is kind of dive into each of these categories and why it's important. So number 1, eating lots of vegetables. Okay, who has not heard this before? Most of us know veggies are a good thing. And why they are a good thing, they have tons of anti-inflammatory properties to them. They are rich in those antioxidants. They have lots of fiber, which is good for your gut health. And we're going to talk about that. But what I want you to do is really focus on the non-starchy vegetables. So when patients come in to see me, 9 out of 10 times when they tell me that they're eating a vegetable, those vegetables are peas, corn, potatoes. Well, I got news for you guys. Those 3 vegetables are actually more of your starchy vegetable. Okay, that means they are higher in calories, they are higher in carbohydrates. I want you focusing more on the non-starchy vegetable. I want you to think broccoli and spinach and carrots and cucumbers, tomatoes. And again, like I said, those dark green leafy vegetables, those are your wonderful, wonderful veggies to incorporate. They are low calorie and they are packed with nutrition. Preparation from them. Honestly, I just prefer do your preference. If you like fresh, if you like frozen, if you liked canned, that is okay by me. I do say if you get canned, try to get the no salt added. Drastically can decrease your sodium intake. There's lots of great frozen products and new products out there that can be quick, easy, steamed in the microwave and ready in 4 to 5 minutes. Try to avoid some of the different sauces, the cheese sauces and different marinades, just to help with our calorie and our sodium intake. I'm happy if you want to roast them, you want to grill them, steam them, do what you like with them. Add them into your soups, add them to your omelets, put them in casseroles. When I make chili at home, I call it chili salad because I put lots of spinach in there. I saute it with my meat and it's so small and so little, nobody even notices it. So adding the spinach and the leafy greens to different things, they take on the flavor of what you're eating and just giving your body some more nutrition. Lots of cool new products like our veggie noodles, our cauliflower rice, cauliflower pizza crust. I make portobello mushroom pizzas quite a bit. So you can still have your traditional dish. We're just greatly decreasing our carbohydrate and pumping up those non-starchy veggies, again, to get that anti-inflammatory property, lots of fiber, and low calorie. Ideally, we're aiming to fill up half the plate with non-starchy veggies. I always do a show of hands in my classes and say, whose plate looks like this? And 9 out of 10 times, nobody raises their hand because most of our plates are carbohydrate based. So it's a big plate of pasta, a big plate of casserole. We have some protein and maybe some veggies, but maybe not. And Mediterranean diet really pushes you to change that, change our style of eating, fill up the plate with those more plant-based items. The second thing I like patients to know about the plate method, notice it's only a 9-inch plate. Most of our standard dinner plates at home are 12 to 14 inches. They're big. And what happens is we unknowingly dish ourselves larger portions simply because we have a bigger plate. Now, I'm not saying go out and buy brand new dish sets, but even using some paper plates, those are that 9-inch style. If you have salad plates at home, kids or grandkids, get their plates out and start using them. Tricks the eye and the mind a little bit to fill the plate up with smaller portions. Okay, number 2, changing the way we think about meat. So the analogy that I like to use for this, I want you to think the more feet it has, the more bad fat it has. Okay, so the more feet, the more bad fat. Fish, no feet. Turkey, chicken, 2 feet. Pigs and cows, 4 feet. So Mediterranean style of eating is really focusing on doing more chicken, fish, and turkey. Okay, those leaner protein sources. When you do beef or pork, it's choosing the rounds and the loins. Sirloin, tenderloin, pork loin, round steak. They do have a little bit less fat in them. Honestly, guys, the Mediterranean style eating, it says to have fish and turkey, chicken 3 to 4 times a week, really limiting your red meat once a month or less. We live kind of, middle America. I grew up farming with my family, so I get it. We do have red meat readily available, but if you're really devoted and going to try this style of eating to improve brain health and cognition, changing the way you think about meat is very, very important. I refer to protein as kind of the building block of our body. Okay, so protein is important with numerous different functions throughout the entire body, especially in the brain. Those neurotransmitters that are firing around. Think of the neurotransmitters, they're little chemical messengers. So they're constantly working on keeping our brain functioning. They manage everything from, signaling the body to breathe and for our heartbeats. They're involved with concentration levels. They have lots of important functions. So again, I know it's hard. I know it's not how we grew up, but making that little lifestyle change can make all the difference. Okay, when you do the meat, choosing the white meat over the dark meat, really limiting those processed meats, the bacons, the bolognas, the sausages, occasionally having them. There's just not a lot good in them. Again, we're going for a whole food approach, natural foods, lots of fish and turkey and chicken. When you're cooking them, thinking more baked and broiled, grilled, steamed, poached, low-fat cooking methods. We want to kind of get away from that fried, greasy, buttered, battered style of eating. I mentioned doing the more fish. So they recommend having it twice weekly, which is a big change for us. We don't have access to a lot of fresh fish. Aiming for wild caught when available. Definitely can get this in the frozen section of the grocery store. It doesn't always have to be straight from behind the counter. There's options for frozen. And why this is so beneficial, those omega-3s are huge for anti-inflammatory properties. Huge, huge, huge. They are shown to reduce our stress hormones. They can actually help protect against depression. There are tons of studies about omega-3, and over again, it shows that low omega-3 intake is linked to cognitive decline, linked to depression, it's linked to mood disorder, and just our stress system not being properly regulated. So again, omega-3s are huge. Ideally, if you can get them through diet, we want to, but I do encourage you, if you are not a big fish eater, talk with your doctor about an omega-3 supplement. Anything we can get from food is the best option, not always going to happen. So an omega-3 supplement can be beneficial. When you're purchasing one, if you purchase one, you want to look for it to contain EPA and DHA. Okay, those are the important things to look for. So again, that's EPA and DHA as part of your omega-3 supplement. Okay, vegetarian meal. Trying to do that one night a week. So I'm sure you guys have heard the term before, meatless Mondays. So cooking with beans and cooking with lentils, nuts and seeds, using quinoa as a wonderful source of protein and fiber. And really, again, back to that plant-based style of eating is what this incorporates. Edamame is a wonderful source of protein in the diet, using nut butters and chia seed. Again, once a week is what they recommend. If this is something that's super far out for you, I would even say with starting once a month that you do this. Get the hang of that, start finding some recipes. Then we move to every other week we're doing it and slowly kind of working our way towards the one night a week. Incorporating good low-fat dairy. So this is a big part of the Mediterranean diet as well. Picking low-fat milks and skim milks and cheeses. Yogurt, and especially Greek yogurt, is a wonderful part of the meal plan. They're a higher protein source. And remember, again, protein is kind of that building block of the body and those neurotransmitters to keep our brain healthy and keep our cognition up. Using good fats. So this is a huge part of the Mediterranean diet and something I think kind of our standard American diets, which are referred to as SAD, standard American diet, they're SAD. We don't incorporate a lot of the good healthy fats. So do fats have calories? Yes, they do. But are they very important? Yes, they are. Things like avocados and olives, nuts and seeds, these are fantastic to incorporate in your meal plan, and I recommend it to each and every one of my patients. Nuts especially, nuts have neuroprotective type properties in them. They're serving to protect your cells against damage and against degeneration and impairment in function. So that essentially means it's keeping things working like they should. Our brain needs fat to function daily. Fat is also involved in satiety, which that means it helps keep you fuller longer. Sometimes what they're seeing in certain studies is that when we cut out our fat intake, so by only picking low-fat products, sugar intake can go up. We're not we're not full. Fat's providing that satiety and keeping you fuller longer in the day, which prevents us from snacking and grazing and looking for those quick energy sources. Fat is also involved in absorbing certain vitamins. So vitamin A and D and E and K, those are fat-soluble vitamins. They need fat to be absorbed and for your body to use properly. So again, if you like avocados, go for it. I want you to eat avocado. I want you to put guacamole on top of tacos. I want you to snack on nuts and seeds. They're fantastic. We touched a little bit on this one earlier, so I'm not going to stay on this slide, but leaner cooking methods of how we're cooking our meats and other products. Number 7, switching to whole grains. So most of us have probably heard this before with our general nutrition recommendations, but looking more for whole grain options. So swapping out your white bread for wheat bread, swapping out white rice for brown rice. This is just going to provide your body with all-round better nutrition. It keeps that fiber in there, it keeps those B vitamins in there, and just more nutrition in general. Considering things, like I said, the brown rice, quinoa, if you haven't cooked with that before, it's an excellent source of protein and fiber. Barley and oats, these are great ways to start incorporating more whole grains into the diet. And what this is also going to do is it's going to help increase your fiber intake. They estimate most Americans, we don't get in half of the fiber intake that they recommend. So by starting to slowly increase our whole grain intake and having more fruits and more vegetables, that's going to help pump up your fiber intake. And fiber is so directly linked to overall health with cholesterol levels and blood sugars and with the gut-brain connection. And that gut-brain connection is huge, and research is really kind of booming in this area right now, referring to our gut as our second brain. So much information is stored there. I believe it's like 90% of our immune system is in our gut. So keeping your gut good and healthy helps keep your body healthy, and it helps your brain function properly. There are constant signals between the brain and the gut going on. Again, those neurotransmitters, those chemical messengers, our stress and anxiety levels. I'm sure, a lot of us can relate when we're emotional or high stress, we can experience GI issues, diarrhea, upset tummy, kind of bubbly tummy. That's that direct correlation between that stress and anxiety level and the gut. The connection is huge. So by keeping our gut healthy, by eating those good, nutritious foods, your gut's healthy and happy, your brain's healthy and happy. It's helping prevent, cognitive decline, dementia, Alzheimer's, other diseases like that. So how do we keep our gut healthy? It's good nutrition. Okay, you don't have to take specific nutrients and specific probiotics to do so, but if we're providing our food, our tummies with good, healthy food, that's keeping your gut healthy. Okay, so those omega-3s, which we talked about, the yogurt, we mentioned yogurt, those do have natural probiotics in them. Kefir and sauerkraut, those fermented foods, they've been shown to kind of improve brain activity. High fiber foods, we just talked about those, of having whole grains and fruits and veggies and nuts and seeds. All those foods are keeping your gut happy, healthy, which again in turn is keeping your mind happy and healthy. Certain polyphenol-rich foods, so if you like green tea, some coffees, or coffee contains it, cooking with olive oil, those polyphenol-rich foods increase your gut bacteria, which can then in turn help with cognition. Tryptophan, I know that's kind of a funky word. It's an amino acid. Again, it goes back to the neurotransmitters in the brain. These foods, so turkey and eggs, cheese, fantastic to incorporate. I do talk to a lot of my patients about probiotics. If that's something you're interested in, I definitely think talk to your provider about it, but searching for a broad spectrum or multi-strain is what you want to do. Fruits. So I definitely talked about having the fruits and veggies in the diet, swapping them out for desserts when we can. Studies show that those simple carbohydrates, the cakes, the cookies, the pies, the ice cream, they cause inflammation in the body. And that inflammation is happening in the brain too, which then impairs our cognitive function. So can you have the desserts occasionally? Absolutely. Do we need to have them all the time? Probably not. So using some of the different fruits that have the nice sweet taste to them, using them as a dessert option as well. Okay, so that kind of breaks down. I do think we actually, before I go on, I think I saw a question about kombucha. Kombucha is fantastic to incorporate. It does have those kind of probiotic properties in it. So a great drink to have. It does have some natural sugar in them. So it's not something that I say to drink multiple of a day, but I think incorporating, it once or twice a week, totally fine to do, and a lot of nutrition benefit to it. So if you like it, absolutely. I think it would be a great idea. Do we have any other questions at this time? Pause for 1 second. I think that's all I see at the moment. Okay, so we talked about the Great 8 and incorporating those into the meal plan. So it boils down to more fruits, veggies, plant-based foods. The main component too is we're just focusing on overall health. We're eating more whole-based foods. We're having 3 meals a day. We're setting the tone with the day by having breakfast. It's getting your tone going. It's getting your metabolism up and going. And again, the whole-based foods. Okay, I'm not saying let's eat donuts and pastries and bagels for breakfast. Examples would be a piece of whole grain toast with egg and avocado, whole grain toast and nut butter, having full-fat yogurt with fruit. We're kind of hitting those different food groups in more of the plant-based style of eating. Oops, my slide's not going here. Prepping and planning, lifestyle change is hard to incorporate when you're busy and hectic life. I promise you, if you spend 2 to 3 days prepping and planning for the week, it's going to set you up for success. Boil eggs on a Sunday. You can cook some chicken or fish. You can leave it in the fridge for a couple days if you do know that there's a certain night that you are busy and need something quick. Utilizing the crock pot when you can, and really becoming the master of the portions using the smaller plates and smaller bowls. Snacks, I'm okay with you snacking. I encourage it, especially if it's going to be longer than the 3 to 4 hours. I want you to have a snack, but again, we want kind of that Mediterranean style. Think hummus and veggies, apples and a nut butter. Greek yogurt would be fantastic. A low-fat cottage cheese and fruit. Okay, so we're not snacking on the chips and the cookies and the candies. Part of that's what we typically do with the standard American diet, but we're the nuts and the seeds and the plant-based sources. I know we're running out of time. There's a couple more things that I want to touch on before we do. Everyone has to get back to work. The importance of fluid, water, water, water. Most of us don't drink near enough water. Minimum 64 ounces a day is what you want to shoot for. We don't want it coming from high calorie, high sugar type items. I think a lot of times if people really stop and think about it, what they're drinking, a lot of calories can come from here. So make sure that you're watching what you drink, not only watching what you eat, and also not relying on energy drinks as your energy source. They're a quick pick-me-up. They kind of trick the body a little bit, that you get that quick source of energy. The body thinks you have the energy. It doesn't. So then we're left with that exhaustion and hunger, the overeating, the fatigue, and the cycle just keeps continuing. I ask patients to limit caffeine 1 to 2 8-ounce cups a day max, and other things were coming from the water. Water is also helping our brain. So if you're hydrated, your brain's hydrated. Nutrients are flowing. It's delivering messages better. So just overall hydration impacts the entire body. Limiting alcohol. The guidelines, women no more than 1 drink a day, men no more than 2 drinks a day. Unfortunately, it's not just whatever you pour yourself. There are some guidelines on what counts as a drink. Listed here, so 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or 1.5 ounces of a harder liquor. That's what counts as a drink. Exercise, we know we need to do it. Everyone tells us we need to, we do. It gives you those endorphins, and it just keeps the body in overall good health. It helps with weight management. It helps with cognitive function and overall sense of well-being. Last thing I really want to touch on, guys, I know I'm a couple minutes over, is vitamin D, that sunshine vitamin. Okay, if you've heard about the winter blues, it's linked to your vitamin D. It's linked to that sunshine vitamin. Commonly low. I'd say probably 90% of the patients I see have a low vitamin D level. Those low levels are linked with your mood and cognition. Keeping a good vitamin D level has shown to decrease anxiety and decrease symptoms of depression. It's also a risk factor for dementia. So it's something that I recommend to patients. Make sure your primary care provider is checking this on a regular basis, because overall health, there are so many research studies are linking vitamin D to health. So it's something, a lot of primary care doctors are checking it, but make sure that they are. You want your level 30 or above. More optimally, I would say the 50 to 60 range. Best source of it is the sunlight, 10 to 15 minutes a day, but also get some in your fatty fish, your eggs and mushrooms, and then fortified items. Skip over that one. I will just briefly touch on turmeric. Turmeric there's several studies that show it as an anti-inflammatory property, and it can impact the brain just like it does the heart. So it can alter those levels of those little chemical messengers in the brain, so improving overall cognition. Some patients take a turmeric supplement, and cooking with turmeric in your different dishes is a great thing. And research is kind of still coming out about this, but lots of exciting studies about it helping not only with overall inflammation in the heart, but also within the brain. Stress, we're all stressed. Life is crazy. It plays a huge role on cognition. So anything that you can do to relax the mind and the body and decrease stress, whether that be music or yoga, talking to somebody, but making sure to get some of those emotions out, because it can trigger that mental and emotional exhaustion. Sleep, we gotta have it. Aiming for 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. Huge impact on sleep, or on overall brain cognition, and not feeling the fuzz, kind of that brain fog in the morning from fatigue. Reducing your caffeine intake later in the day, it has been shown to increase sleep. Not looking at phones and TVs before sleep has been shown to improve it. But sleep is involved, hormone levels, weight management, brain cognition, you name it, typically has a direct link to our sleep patterns. And I really encourage patients, form a routine with your sleep, and you're going to bed at the same time every night, maybe reading a book or a devotional or whatever it may be, instead of looking at the phone and the TV. Smoking, you guys know this one, we're not supposed to smoke. Overall health in general, stay away from it. I do, real quick, Shanna, I know I'm running over here. Weight loss and the improvement of overall health. So typically when we eat better, we have more energy. We sleep better, we have more energy. We exercise more, we have more energy. So if you are in the overweight category, using the Mediterranean style eating, incorporating exercise, that weight loss does have a huge impact on it. Bariatric surgery is an option. Weight loss is hard, I get it. I work in the bariatric center, and it is an option too. I don't want you to think that you're alone. And if diet and exercise hasn't always worked, there definitely are options. So I encourage you to talk with your HR reps about that. Okay, so again, guys, I'm so sorry I ran over. It was just so much great information I wanted to share with you.